Start with the ice base over here. We'll do ice base. Yeshloim er so we can say the explanation in this api hamivur bekama mekaymes based on what's explained in many places. Ala posik Shema Yisrael Havaye Goimer Havaye Echad. Same issue that we're saying here. How come it says Echad, Ato Echad ושמך Echad, not Yochid? Is in many places explains on the pasuk of Shema Yisrael seems to be a similar question. Because why does the pasuk say Shema Yisrael Goimer Hashem Echad? Why does it say only Hashem Echad? The Ma'ashe Kosub Havaya Echad V'loi Havaya Yochidhu. So he explains in the other places the reason why it says Echad and not Yochid is Ki hachiluk ben Yochid le'Echad hu, the difference between Yochid and Echad hu, she'Echad moire al his achdus haprotim. When it says Echad, that points to the fact that there is a union, united, the details are united. There is one level where there is no details over there. It's just only. When you say one, you're saying one means that there is a collection of many that become united. It points to the fact there are details, but it's echad moire al his achdus haprotim, on the union, the uniting of the details. For example, it says in the bracket ukemoi, for example, elef echad. You say 1,000. So 1,000 is a great many details. 1,000 means that it's one that includes a lot of details. It's 1,000. Shehu klal hakolul me'elef pratim. That it's a general, it's a klal, it's one, but the one is included from many details. In a similar way, you say Odom Echad, one person. So the person is one, but Shehu Kolul Miramach Evorim V'Shasagidim. But that one person is included, has in himself 248 limbs and 365 sinews, Gidim. So it's one that includes many. That's the meaning of the word echad. One included and united a bunch of detail. That is the meaning of echad. On the other hand, v'yochid moire al inyan shalamayla mipratim. But the idea of yochid, that shows on a level which is higher than detail. There's no details over there because it's the only thing. For example, we say yichida shebenefesh. In the soul, we talk about the level which is yichida. What means yichida? The level of yichida shebenefesh means she'eno murkeves mikoiches protim. It is not made up. It's not combined from detailed powers. It's only, there's nothing else there. There's not that there is a bunch of powers that become one, not in the level of Yechida. Yechida means there is no koiches. It's not made up from protim. So that's the explanation why we say Hashem Echad, Velochin Nemar, and that's why it says Havaya Echad. This is why it says Havaya Echad Veloi Havaya Yochid. Not Hashem is one, and not that Hashem is only. That is in order to teach us Shagam le'achrei shenivra ha'olam, that even after the world has been created, sheyesh b'ribui pratim, there exists now, we're talking in a situation where after the world is created, so it's not in a position where there's nothing else. There is other things. There is a world that has been created. Sheyesh b'ribui pratim. In this world that was created, there is multitude of details. So there is a lot of pratim. So even after there is a lot of pratim, who miyuchad imo yizbarach, the world is still united with Hashem blessed. That's why echad tells us not that there is nothing else besides Hashem, but it tells us that even after the world was created, he is still echad. Everything is still united. It's echad even after there is details. If it would have said Yochid, Yochid means that there is no other existence, so then it wouldn't bring out the point that we're talking about. There is other details, and still these details are bottled. As also, as it's hinted, the Gimel Aishis Shebetevis Echad, in the three letters in the word Echad. Echad is made up from Aleph, Ches, and Dalet. The Aleph represents Hashem, Alufa Shaloilom. The Ches represents the seven Rakim Va'aretz, the seven heavens and the earth is seven, is eight, and is the Ches, and the Dalet is the four corners of the world, Mizrach, Ma'ariv, Tzofan, and Dorim. That all Ches and the Dalet are bottled to the Aleph, that's Echad. Shahaches Shemoire al Zayin. That the Ches, the letter Ches, which points to the seven heavens and the earth, and the Daled that points to the four corners of the world, they're bottled, they're subjugated, and they're united with the Aleph. They're one word with the Aleph, which is Alufa Shaloilom, that represents the master of the world, the Aleph. So the Echad signifies that there is a Ches, there is a Dalet, there is a world, and yet they're bottled to Echad. In the context of Yachid, that means that there is no world to begin with. There's nothing else. But here we're trying to say that even while there is a world after creation of the world, it's still miyuchad. That gives out with the word echad that the ches and the dalet are bottled to the aleph. So now the Rebbe explains. So why is the Rebbe asking a question? Why does it say Ato Echad V'Shimcha Echad? But we already have an explanation, like in the other Maimorim, that the word Echad is fitting because we're trying to say after Bria Sa'olam that there is still Miyuchad, there is Pratim, and they're Miyuchad with the Aleph. So why is the Rebbe asking the question, why does it say Ato Echad? It doesn't say Ato Yochid, but we have already the answer. Just like by Shema Yisrael, it doesn't say Hashem Yochid, it says Hashem Echad. But still, the Rebbe explains that the Maimer still has a good question, because in the level that we're talking about, Ato Echad, the Shimcha Echad, which is the time of Mincha Shabbos, when we daven and we say Ato Echad, that is a time that we are talking about on a higher level. At that time, there should really only be, over there it's a level of Yochid, Silkan Sai. And this, that the Maimer is Medayik, and that it says in the Maimer, Masha Kosruv Ato Echad V'Shimcha Echad, V'loi Ato Yochid V'Shimcha Yochid. So why is the Maimer asking, why does it say Ato Echad and not Ato Yochid Shimcha Yochid? But l'chayra, we have this answer from the other Maimorim, because echad means that even though there is a world, and still they're bottled. So why are we asking about the echad? So we can say, based on what it's explained in many places, the that this, the pasuk says, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, that is specifically when we talk about an oir which has a connection to world. In a connection to world, when we're talking about the level in the oir which is connected to the world, we can say there is a world, but it's echad, it's united. But when we talk about the infinite of the Ein Sof, which is beyond having a connection to the world, over there it does not apply to call it echad. We only call it yachid. Ein shum mitzias, because relative to this light, there is no mitzias. If you talk about the higher than world, there is taka no mitzias. There is no world. There's not shaykhs to say protim, and this is united, but there is no mitzias over there. Behu levadehu, he's alone. So therefore, the question is, at the time of Mincha, we're at the level of the Ein Sof, which is higher than Olames. Over there, we should say Yachid, because this idea of Echad, of the Nivroim, that they are bottled to the Ein, that's when we're talking about a Zman in a time when we're talking about the Ein Sof, which is the Oir, which is Shaykh Olames. But the key von shetfila zu ato echad chulu hi atfila de mincha Shabbos. Since this davening of ato echad is the davening that we do by mincha Shabbos, the neisef lazeh Shabbos bechlal. So, in addition to the fact, just because when we talk about Shabbos alone, hu hagilui the Ein Sof shalamaylo mishaychus loyalmas. Shabbos in generally, not only mincha Shabbos, bechlal Shabbos is a time in which the Ein Sof that is higher than Shaykhis Lo'ilam is revealed. So over there it's more Shaykhis to the level of Yochid, but within Shabbos itself, in Shabbos Gufa, in Shabbos itself, Iker Gilui Zehu b'Minchas Shabbos, the main of this revelation of the Ein Sof, which is higher than a Shaykhis Lo'ilam, that's mainly b'Minchas Shabbos, during Minchas Shabbos. That is when we say the prayer, Ato Echad V'Shimcha Echad, which is the time, Minchas Shabbos is the time of Raiva Derivim, the Rotzin of all Ritzonis, that's the level of the Minchas Shabbos, Uki Yedua, as it's known, Be'inyan Gimel Hasudes de Shabbos. In the idea of the three meals we have on Shabbos, we learn out to the Shabbos because in the pasuk by the Mon, it says 3 times Hayoim. Over there, it says talking about the Shabbos, so it says about the Mon 3 times. The pasuk mentions Hayoim, but Suda Shlishis, which is the Sudas of Minchas Shabbos. Over there, the pasuk says Hayoim, Takeh, that's the word Hayoim. But the pasuk continues there, Hayoim loitim tza'uhu. Today, even though it talks about Hayoim, it's the 3rd time that it says Hayoim, but it says today you will not find the Mon the pasuk talks about there. So from this we say that when it comes to the Minchas Shabbos, it comes to the Suda Shlishis, over there it's a level from Hayoim loi, because then it's drawn down the essence tainug, which is not felt. Why do we call it hayom? It's a tainug atzmi that is not felt, which is higher and beyond of eating and drinking. It's sort of That's also the reason why by Suda Shlishis we don't necessarily wash all the time, and there's love because it's a Yom Loi, but it's a level because at that point it's a revelation of Shabbos in a way that it doesn't even manifest itself in eating or drinking because it's a delight, it's a tainug that cannot be incorporated in the food. It's a tainug atzmi which is not felt. So that means and that within Shabbos itself, during the time of Minchas Shabbos, the time of Ravid the Ravid, that's the time that there is a revelation on Minchas Shabbos from the Oir, which is higher than Olam Ois, and that's why it's Hayom Loi. It's even higher than eating and drinking. The Bechlolus, generally speaking, who etzem Oir, she'ene begeder Olam Ois. So we're begeder Almin. We're talking about the essence of the light, which is not defined, cannot be defined by the world. Kam Loi Ba'ofen the Seifet. It's higher than the world in a way that it's not even connected in the way of Seifet. When you say something surrounds the world, we talk about the Oir, Ein Sof HaSoivev, it's take higher. It doesn't come in b'pnimis, but it's still Soivev, but it's Soivev the world. That means that there is a connection. When we say that it is the Etzem HaOir, which is not even surrounding, it's not at all connected to the world. It doesn't surround the world because it's higher than the world. So that's why the Maimer has the question. Shebetfila zu, that in this davening, Havalela Maimer Ato Yochid V'Shimcha Yochid, over here he should have said Yochid instead of saying Echad. He should have said Yochid, because since we're talking about Minchas Shabbos, at the time of Ravid the Ravid, in the time that there is the revelation of the Etzem Ha'oir, which is higher than Shaychus Loilamas. When do we say Echad? That it's inclusion of the protein and their bottle, that's in the Eira Shaykh Loilamas. It's a light which is connected to the element. But since Ravid the Ravid Mincha the Shabbos, it's the light which is higher than Oilamos. That's why the Rebbe asked the question in the Maimer, it should say Yochid, because by Mincha and Shabbos, which is the Gilui of the Etzem of the Ein Sof, Etzem Oir, which is not the Geder Omen, over there we should say Yochid and not Echad. So that's how the Rebbe in this Ois Beis answered the question, why are we asking that it should say Yochid and not Echad? We have that answer already from Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Echad, that it says Echad because it includes the details. But since the Rebbe explains that only applies when it's the Oir, when you're talking about the level of the Oir, which is Begeder Omim. So, but in Minchas Shabbos, we should say Yochid. Gimel. Hine. So that is the question with regards to Ato Echad, Shimcha Echad, that it's more appropriate to Yochid. But what about the level Umika Amcho Ki Yisrael Goy Echad? Why are we asking that it should be saying Goy Yochid, not Goy Echad? The Rebbe will explain that over here would be more appropriate to say L'chayra Goy Yochid. V'nal derech zehu b'Yisrael. Similar is by the Yidden, sheyesh bohem dugmas shnei inyonim elu. The Yidden, their Maila and their connection to Hashem is similar to these two inyonim that we talk about, the Oir, which is not shaykhs to the Metzias Ha'olam, and there is the Oir, which is shaykh. So the Yidden, the way their connection to Hashem, there is two levels. There is a connection of Hashem where there is only Yidden, and there is a connection to Hashem which after the Yidden came down in a neshama beguf. So there is a place where the Yidden are Yochid, they're only, but there is another place where the Yidden, once they descended, there is room for something else. And therefore, at some level, we can say Echad. Let's look inside. But Hinel, Derech Zobi, Israel, Sheyesh Bem Dugma Shnei Inyonim Elu, they're similar to these two ideas. Shemitzad Shedish HaNeshamis, K'moi Shehem Mushroshim Ba'atzmus, when we look at the root of the neshama as they are rooted in the atzmus, in the essence of Hashem, there is no space for any other existence. It's only the Ki'im, Yisrael, Umalki, Bichidoi. At that level, the Yidden is Yochid. There is no other level. It's just the Yidden and their king, just they alone. There's no other Metzias. It's a Metzias of Yochid. Yidden are just a Yochid. V'yesh loymar. And the Rebbe adds, when we're saying that it's only Yidden at that level, shebedarge zu ein shayich loymar gam sheyisrael kodmu loylam. We know that it's brought down that the Yidden come before the world. To say that the Yidden come to the world, we have to acknowledge that there is a world, and then we say that the Yidden come before the world. But when we're talking about in the Atzmus, where there's only Yidden, you can't even say that they come before the world because there is no world over there. At this level, you can't even say that the Yidden come before the world. So over there, the Yidden are Yochid. They are like the only ones to Hashem. There is nothing else. But after the Yidden have descended below, in order to sort out and to refine the world, when the Yidden went down into the world, so relative to this level of the Yidden, when the Yidden went down into the world, so over there is already a world, as they are in the land, in the earth, the world. So now in this level, there is not any more alone. We're not the only ones. There is already an entity, there's an existence of Umas Oilom. And not only do they exist, but we actually elevate the world, the nation of the world. V'ad shal yidei sheYisrael poyalim birur ba'umas nase bahem ilui, through the fact that the Yidden impact and they sort out the nations, that elevates the nations of the world. So not only is their existence, but we actually elevate them. So therefore, that's why it says Goy Echad. Goy Echad means what? Echad Hamoni. It doesn't say Goy Yochid. It says Goy Echad. Why? Shemoinim Gam es Umas Oilom. That we also count the Umas Oilom. So we don't say there's only Yochid. There's not only the Yidden. At this level, once the Yidden are down and working and poiling a bitter over there, we don't say Yochid, we say Echad because they're connected. The Kivon, Shal Yodom Davkin Nase Ilui Zebi Yisrael. So this is actually the Ilui, not in the nations, but the Ilui, I touched before, Nasibem Ilui is in the nations. It means the Yid gets the Ilui through the Ilu of the Goy. It is through the non-Jews that this elevation takes place by the Yidden. So it turns out that there is not only Yidden, there's also Umas Ha'olam. The Umas Ha'olam are the ones that impact an Ilui, an elevation, the Yid. So we have to agree that there is an existence, that there also exists a non-Jew. There's also a Umas Ha'olam. So in that case, so why are we saying Echad? So then there's not only, so there's Yidden and there's not just, no. Still it's Echad. Eloshi Yisrael, Hem Goy Echad, Yidden are Goy Echad, She'enoi is Arev Im Shara Amim. It doesn't mix in with the other nations. Al derech, as we say, Yom Echad, like we said in Ma'aseh Bereishis, the first day of creation. Sheyom Harishon D'Sheishis Bereishis Nimna Im Shara Yomim. Although it is counted the other days, Echad Hamonui, it's one that is counted. Abul Hunayla Mehem, but he's higher than them. So even though, so it's still Echad, but he's still Echad. He's the one, which means he's Echad of 2, 3, 4, 5. But he's Echad. He's the one. He's unique. So even when we say Goy Echad Ba'aretz, that even though there is still others, he's still Echad. So one can argue and say that the Yidden are called Echad because we're talking about in the place where there is Goyim, with the Yidden working with the Goyim, so there's not Goyachim. So now the Rebbe explains, in order to reject Pirush Zeh, so we shouldn't explain this interpretation. Maybe Hamaimer Hamashul the Ben Yochid. That's why he brings the Mashul of the Ben Yochid to negate this interpretation, to explain why you should say Mikam Yisrael Goy Yochid, not Goy Echad, even though there is the level of Echad. Why does he bring this Mashul of the Ben Yochid? The Rebbe said to ask the question. The Nyone Shel Ben Yochidu. What is the idea of a Ben Yochid? It's not just that practically, in actuality, he's only a one son. What does it mean, a Ben Yochid? It's not just the fact is there's no other children there. But mainly, Shahavose La'aviv. V'havas Aviv a love, but that the love that he has to his father, the Ben Yochid, and the love that the father has to the Ben Yochid, he Ava Miyuchedes. It's a very unique, special love. She'enet doimel Ava the Avu Ben Kshieshnam Yosem Mi Ben Echad. It's not dissimilar to the love the father and the son to each other when there is more than one son. There is a much deeper love and connection when there's only one son. So, since there is that level of love which is unique by a Ben Yochid, which it is only between the Yid and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that same idea of that special love is the fact that the Yidden are an only son to the Yechidei Shaloilum, to the only one of the world, which means Hashem. Sha'avod HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, Ba'avod Yisrael HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the love of Hashem to the Yidden, and the love of the Yidden to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hi'ava Miyuchedes, it's a very unique love. She'ein Dugmoso B'chol Ha'amim, there is no comparison in all the nations, a love between the Yidden and the Eberster. So there is not, even though there may exist, there may be other entities, there may be a world, and there may be nations of the world, and we work with them, and they bring an elevation in the Yidden, but still that unique love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the Yidden and the love of the Yidden to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's no comparison to, there's no such a thing b'cholam. Kivon shegam be'eretz ha'av, since even when it's in the Oretz, and dressed up in the world. Ha'avad HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. Udi Yisrael HaKadosh Baruch Hu Hiyava Miyuchedes, that's a unique love. Ein Shaykh L'chayra Limnoisam. So L'chayra, it's not applicable to count them in Shara Alamim, to count the other nations. It should say only because it is unique. There is nothing else compared to it. And you can't, even in the Aretz where there is Umasaylam, it's still a unique love that exists there between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Yidden, because it's a Ka'amcha Yisrael Goy Echad, even Ba'aretz, Goy Echad Ba'aretz. Ba'aretz, it's still Goy Yochid. It's a level of Yochid in Eretz. So why is this say Goy Echad Ba'aretz? So the Rebbe basically explained, he here in Ois Gimel, the question that he started in the beginning. Why does the Frierdiker Rebbe in the Maimer have to bring out about this level of love, the unique love between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Yidden and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu? About the Rabben Yochid, the fact alone that the Rabben Yochid should be enough to ask the question that it should say Yochid, not Mikam Chisol Goyachad. It should say Yochid. Makes sense. So this is what the Rebbe explains now. Yes, even though in Oretz there is Take other nations over there, we say Oretz because the Yidden are connected with the world. They've been brought down, and in that level, it's a level of Echad and not Yochid. But since the love still of a Ben Yochid to his father, and the father to the Ben Yochid is something which you don't find anywhere else, therefore it still should have said Go Yochid and not Go Echad. And that's the basis for the Rebbe's question. Why the Rebbe asked this question is in order to understand why the language of Echad was used here. It seems like it would have been more appropriate to use the Lashon of Go Echad, as we will continue. Okay, leave it over here.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Yes.